sometimes and oftentimes top producers or people like me, because I still don't often consider myself a top producer. You don't see the hard things, you see what we're posting on social
Mhm.
media, but we got there because we failed. We got there because we had a lot of bad days and a lot of hard transactions.
Today's guest comes from a background that is very popular with agents: education. She taught elementary school for 25 years between Nassau and St. Johns County, Florida, before becoming an agent. I've known her for about 5+ years, going almost 6, pretty much since you really got started, right? It was really early there. She's moved a couple brokerages, which we know, if you listen to my show, is very important. We want to know why and why we match up with certain brokerages. And then recently here in the last year, she was a Platinum Award winner at Better Homes and Gardens Lifestyle Realty, where she's been the last couple of years. Let's welcome Lisa Pruitt to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
It's great to be here.
I appreciate it. I appreciate that. And I saw the Platinum, I think it was March. You had a good March, right? That was your Facebook post. And I'm like, whoa. What's Lisa been doing? So I went back and I'm looking at the numbers and, talking to a lot of agents, 100, this is the 140th episode. So probably about somewhere around 130 of them were actually real estate agents. And, some catch on really good. Maybe they get with a broker or mentor and shoot up. But you are really someone that people really need to dig into. I think they can relate to you. Coming from 25 years in the classroom to then going in the real estate, if everyone, trudged along, you were learning, you changed brokerages. And then it looks like, by your numbers, really this last 12, 18 months, things started to click for you. And I want to dig in and what you think it was, because I think a lot of people can relate to that and are at that point, maybe they're 2 or 3 years into their real estate career and they're seeing some other numbers, seeing the numbers you're getting, reaching those $1 million clubs a month at their brokerage. And what is it that you were doing? Maybe we can shorten their learning curve a little bit.
I'd love to help if I can.
Yes. So as I kick off every show, where are you from, Lisa?
I was born in upstate New York in a very small town. I actually, at 10 years old, moved to Cocoa Beach area.
Mm-hmm.
Grew up on the beach. My family decided to open a business there. Then left for college at 18 to North Carolina. Realized I was too far from the beach. Came back to Jacksonville to finish up my education degree at UNF and met my husband. So I have been here since 1988.
That's right. I'm trying to remember if on LinkedIn, if you had mentioned that. I know it's someone else at Crossroad, because I think I've told you I was born in Peekskill, New York, and then we moved to Cape Cod when I was 7, more or less grew up there. But coming from, well, as we know, a lot of New Yorkers are coming here, right? I was telling a group this morning, it was an Instagram. I actually posted on the Instagram. So if anyone wants to look on my Instagram right now, there's a post I forwarded from a real estate agent. I don't know where he's from, but he was listing like the top 10 states over the top 10 states with population decreasing and how many. And it started with like Minnesota to obviously New York and New Jersey. That whole Northeast corridor is, Massachusetts was on there of decreasing population. And I would say, if it's not 50%, it's 60% are moving right here to Florida.
7 families a day, I heard.
Yeah. It's crazy, which we'll dig into that a little bit. Now I looked on your I think it was your LinkedIn. You were at UNF from 88 to 91, right? So then you pretty much go right there, right? They hire you right out of there and go in the classroom.
Right into the classroom in Nassau County.
So was teaching just something that was just always in you, or something you're like, hey, what am I going to do? And you're like, in 88, when you went into the unit, it was like, let's go into teaching. Florida's growing. I can get a teaching job. Or was it a passion that you had at the time?
It really is. And I honestly believe that all the good teachers, that is their passion.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they want to do in life. They enjoy serving. They have a heart for it. What makes the profession?
Well, put 25 years in, it has to be a passion.
Yes. But I still get to teach. I'm just teaching in a different area.
Yes. Which was one of my questions. Since you brought it up, I mean, you think about the 25 years of teaching. What are do you ever catch yourself, you're working with a client, a family or whatever, and kind of, rely back on some of those experiences or trainings that you did with 25 years of classroom experience.
Sure, absolutely. It's kind of built in me.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody learns differently, everybody communicates differently, everybody is on their own journey, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
kind of have to meet people where they're at. Just like in the classroom, you need to know those people, have that relationship, know where they're at, and kind of take them from there. How are you going to get them to the end result? The best way for them.
I was having a discussion this morning with a real estate team, and what you just said resonated a little bit because we were talking about, they wanted to talk about, at least from my experience, because I had a lot more experience in, in lending in real estate than they were real estate agents, probably by over a decade. They were a young team, but, how do you get some of these people, off their, that can buy, to say it's time to make a move, right? Rents are rising, and yeah, the rates are up and so forth. But our conclusion was, and the leader of this team, Haley, she agreed with me. You've got to actually come in, and for a lot of them, you have to sit down and like you're sitting there at the kitchen table and have that discussion with them so that they have time to process and so forth. Are you seeing that with some of your clients that you've been doing it 5+ years now, almost 6, the angle you take today versus, for not to say every customer, for a good percentage of them now, versus say just 2 years ago, where it was as fast as you can make the offer and there was being accepted. Now you're trying to, okay, that one wasn't accepted. Let's go look at another home and let's keep the positive, attitude going and sitting down and having those
Yeah.
heart to hearts.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes the hard conversations, first of all, they have to have your trust and you
Mhm.
have to earn that trust. It's something that's earned. And you have to be real with them and honest. And I think that part of my success is I'm going to tell you the truth. Here's the realities, but I'm going to do it nicely. We have the same thing in mind. I want what's best for you.
Yeah.
It's a business deal, but I want what's best for you.
Right.
So here are the facts. Let's go based on them. And the market has changed, like you just
Yes.
said.
Yeah.
And that's another part of the success in this business is you've got to be flexible, you've got to be able to grow, and you've got to want to.
Did that, well, we talked about it, and again, we're jumping, but these are things I want to cover. But since we're kind of on that subject, that you, over the 5 or 6 years, you've learned that you slowed your game down a little bit, not necessarily you've upped your production by slowing your process down, where before it was, hey, the customer called, hey, you got a pre-call? Great. Meet me at the house. Boom. Let's make an offer and grab it. Well, we're not, that we're still trying to do that, but not every offer is being accepted.
Right.
You're slowing your game down a little bit to focus in. Is that something you've more or less have learned through trial and error, or meeting up with other top agents and kind of picking their brain a little bit?
Yeah. My motto is, and it has always been this, even my kids, I have 2 adult kids, you are who you hang with. And so for me, I had to find the group of people that had the same business model in mind. What was going to work for me might not work for somebody else. So I had to find those people. I am in a brokerage with highly successful agents.
Mm-hmm.
And I learn from them. I listen more than I talk. I pick up what works for them. And we talk a lot about what's going on in the market. How do we make those shifts? How do we become good at the game the market is now?
I think, some of these things that you're like, I'm using the phrase, slowing your game down. I officiate the Jags practice, and somebody was asking me the other day, how, because I do still do the high school. I was doing college and officiating football. And I said, what's really helped me with my officiating game is the Jags practice is not, you're not officiating like a real game. There's certain things they want you to do. We don't blow a whistle or anything, but I spend a lot of time observing, and you're looking at professionals and what they're doing. And what I do then I go on Friday night to officiate a high school football game. The game has slowed down. I see things that never would have saw before, or my first few years officiating. Now I'm seeing multiple things and then making decisions of whether or not, isn't it worth it? Is that really?
Right.
And from a real estate professional standpoint, by hanging with these top people, would you agree your processing of how, like you're talking about, you're taking your teaching experience, you're looking at how these people are dealing with, why are they successful? Well, they have, I don't know, they do better buyers consultations, whatever, because they're taking the time to listen.
Still important, and I learned this early on. It's your systems. You have to have those systems in place. But you're right, I have slowed the game down. A year and a half ago, we were fast and furious. My husband said that I was the backup queen. I'd get a lot of backup offers because I put in those backup offers and I waited,
Right.
and I coached my people, my customers, and I'm like, we can do this. We're just going to hold tight. Don't know yet.
Yep.
Yes, I have to slow down now and just take a look, and I don't have to take every deal. And that's nice. I have not always been like that. You said I jumped in the game and I worked hard and I took everything I could.
Well, you're not in the slowdown, not in a bad way. Like you are still moving at a furious pace. It's just you're being a little more strategic.
Yes.
You're listening to the customer. You're keeping the customer attentive, and therefore, obviously, I would imagine your business has picked up because your referrals have picked up.
Absolutely.
Oh.
My repeat business is huge. I mean, and I'm
Right.
very thankful for customer service is 100% my game. I will go above and beyond. I'm in your corner.
If you were talking to, we were talking pre-show, a new agent, and explaining them the real value of each and every client, that client that's in front of you right now could be 5 or 6 deals over the
gosh.
next, even if it was 5 years and they give you a referral a year, that's huge.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's kind of how it works. You just have to treat each other or treat your customers the golden rule. Treat
Mhm.
somebody how you want to be treated. It's hard in this day and age to find good customer service. I don't want to be known for that. I want to be known that I went above and beyond, and you would be happy to refer me to whoever your friends, your family, your colleagues.
So going back to, I think it was late 2017, right? Well, I guess you finished school in the spring of 17. You were
Well,
right.
that's a funny story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to tell it? Yeah, go ahead.
In
Tell
the
them about
spring,
you.
around spring break, I did leave a little bit early.
Oh,
Yeah. Sometimes when I'm done with something, I'm
yeah.
done and it's
Yeah.
time to go.
You couldn't hang on for another month and a half.
I didn't. Not my proudest moment,
Right.
but that's okay.
Right. You are right. We are checked out. I just, it's so tough on the administrators today to keep people. I know here in St. Johns County, they hire people and then they have to turn it back before school starts because they can't find a place to live they can afford and that sort of thing. So it's tough on them, but like I said, checked out anyway. But go back to what so Lisa, fall of 17, 18, in your mindset then, and the things that you were concerned about on the transaction versus Lisa 22, 23, you're thinking about how am I going to the greater service? How am I going to get a referral from this customer? I mean, what's the two mindset changes? What were you thinking about then? And those first 6-12 months versus the last 6 or 12 months in your
Sure.
process.
Oh, when I jump into something, like I jumped into real estate, it's my second career, I'm always all in. So in the beginning, it was, I'm going to go get those deals. I will cold call. I will not. I will do whatever it takes. I'll let my whole sphere know, no longer teacher Lisa, I am real estate Lisa.
Right.
And I did. I worked hard. I dug in. 5.5 years later, I run my business by referral and repeat business. And again, it was just putting in the hard work, the dedication, the sacrifice of doing things that others wouldn't do. I sacrificed time, money, whatever it took, whatever I really dug into, I went all in.
Right.
And now I can be more selective. I mentioned that a little bit earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's more making sure that I am knowing how the industry is changing and I'm on top of. There are 12,000 agents that I'm not so much competing with, but really competing with, right? I've got to earn somebody's business. And so I have to be top of my game. I got to know my job. I got to know every step of the way. Got to surround myself with title people and lenders who make this transaction go smooth.
Right.
And so really that's where my focus is now. I've learned a lot. Now I've got to stay at top of my game and the knowledge and the industry changing because everything changes and this industry moves quickly.
Yes. Speaking of your mindset and a little bit of, I want to use the word control. Do you feel more in control of the transaction?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think if you were to ask me, what would I tell a new agent? I would say learn the game inside and out. Know the business, know the contracts, know the steps to get to close because it's crucial. And when I first came on board, I joined a team. I was a buyer's agent. And I didn't do that long because I needed for my own self to learn both sides of the transaction so that I could feel comfortable with my customers telling, okay, this is how it works. So yeah, absolutely. Forgot the question. I just keep talking.
No. Well, just control.
Yes.
And what I'm leading to is this. I find, and some people won't say it, but I'm going to say it, and it's not rude or anything. I won't even list it to just real estate agents.
Sure.
There are people who can't even refer a good restaurant,
Right.
let alone refer someone a good lender, home inspector, etc. And when you are spending the time, because again, you talk to the really top agents. Like when I go on my system and I put, St. John's, Duval, basically Northeast Florida counties, Florida, and it starts from the top producers down, right? And those people that are on that first half of the screen, or really that first screen, less than 100 of them, many of them really focus on, or have over time, to make sure they're in control of everything, that their person is getting with the right lender. We know the title company is going to do a smooth closing, no issues. And there are issues. We always have issues.
Yeah.
It's how we solve them and smooth them over and get the person to closing and so forth.
Absolutely.
But you mentioned your team is not only a transaction coordinator or assistant or whatever you may be using. It's also those peripheral services, the lender, the title company, the home inspector, and anyone else that might be maybe a general contractor if a house needs work or whatever.
Yeah.
And having those people on the speed dial not only has given you confidence, allows you to deliver the product, which is the service of that transaction, but gives great confidence to your client as well. Would you agree?
Absolutely. They're trusting me for the real estate transaction, but I always tell them that's not my only job here. I'd be doing you a disservice if I couldn't get you people to get you all the way through. One of my mottos is, I take the stress from you. It's my job to take your stress away in this financial transaction.
Mm-hmm.
So let me help you. Let me give you those service providers. Control is probably hardest for a lot of realtors.
I'm going to change the word to strong influence.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you'll probably notice, and you talk to a lot more top producers than I do,
Mm-hmm.
most of those people that are successful are very strong personalities,
Mm-hmm.
right? They feel very strongly about what they do. They are leaders.
Yes.
And it's hard to give away that control, but you almost have to make a circle of people get that one person to close.
Right.
So yeah, I'm selective about who I work with. I'm selective about who I refer as far as lenders and title companies. And I have the most wonderful transaction coordinator who I did bring with me from another brokerage. And, again, it's knowing who you work well with.
Right.
Not everybody wants to work with me. I can be a little bold, be a little bit, cut the line and nope, this isn't working.
Right.
We're going to make a change.
But there's just as many that like you because of that as well. I think, in my opinion.
Thank you.
I'm the same way. So
I'm going to tell you what I think.
For again, the agents out there, the young agents that may be listening, you have dove into a lot of good stuff already, and we're going to break it down, learning the business inside and out.
Absolutely.
Having a team around you. This gives you confidence.
Absolutely.
When a customer says something in conversation with you, and it might be, say something about lending, and you don't really address it right there and then, but you're quickly on the phone calling your lender saying, hey, this guy's he's talking about bank statement loans or whatever it is. And now all of a sudden you're getting coached from this sense. So now you come back, hey, I remember, I didn't address that with you when we talked the last time. You mentioned something about this loan product or whatever. And I check, it's professionalism.
Absolutely.
And you're consulting. Dig in a little bit about some of the things that you did, which is, I think, the cornerstone, which is the educational piece, getting to know the business. What are some of the things you did that are sort of outside the box, so to speak? When I say inside the box, would be like going to NEFAR or St. John's board, taking classes, structured situations. What did you do kind of the non-structured? What are the things you went out and did to gain the real, where the rubber meets the road type of education?
Great question.
Mm-hmm.
So when I came to Better Homes and Gardens, I started with the Buffini model, hired a coach.
Mm-hmm.
And once I hired a coach, I started taking trainings. And now I travel once or twice a year to conferences. Again, if you're not learning, you're not growing. And for me, being on top of my game, learning what's out there, learning from other top producers, and really just, changing, just making it work for you, knowing who you are, knowing what you want, setting those goals, and following through.
I like the who you are thing, especially I just picked up that thing because, we're going to talk about it a little bit in finding your right brokerage, but you can't find the right brokerage if you don't know who
Right.
you are and how you want to run your business type of thing. But you mentioned Buffini. What are like a couple things that you picked up right away, or maybe since you started coaching that really said, man, this was worth it because of this?
Yeah. I think the whole system of a CRM was a little bit foreign to me. Since I was in real estate, I started with a CRM, but none of them really clicked. And that was the first piece of Buffini that worked for me because it was relational. It wasn't just some random thing I was sending out or some random text or email. It really was personal to my customers. My customers in my CRM are based on relationships that I know. And give or take, somebody will agree, somebody's going to disagree when I say this. My database is real and it's relevant. It's people I've done business with, it's people that I speak to on a regular basis. I'm in a relationship somehow with the people in my database.
All right. So you have the CRM and it's sending out a text message or sending out an email at your designated times. How are you making, with the lack of better, what word you actually use? You made it sound like you're almost sending them a personal message
Do.
the way you're doing it. How do you give me a picture of what that's like?
So each month I have an email that goes out, but it's a personalized email. You're not just getting a random thing with an item of value. It's teaching you something. It's not necessarily just about the real estate, but it's real and relevant to something you might need. Paint colors, hiring a lender, hiring a landscaper, things like that. And then once a month in the mail, you're going to get from me a letter, again with an item of value, helping you along the way, personalized to you from me with my face, staying relevant,
So
staying on
are
top.
you directly going in and sending that to John Smith, or,
It does come from me. Okay, well, I do
I mean,
pay
because
people to do
okay, was yeah, because I guess I was trying to differentiate is the one where you just program it and this mass email goes out to everyone. Well, okay, it might be somewhat related to these people who might be in the middle, but you got these people on two far ends that are like, what's this? This is a garbage email.
And how many emails do we get, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know, Tracy, if they're opening emails every day. I can see the return. I can see who's opening. And I can see who unsubscribes. But what they're seeing is my face coming across them. I'm staying top of mind. So that's one piece. They get that communication. They get personal notes from me. Coming from the teaching profession, when I went to this brokerage and learned about Buffini, that was huge. Personal notes are something I would write the kids all the time.
Mhm.
And then phone calls. I mean, I go through my database and every day I make 5, 6 phone calls. Just checking in. Not that I'm ever asking.
Just for the agents out there, I mean, schedule those things for an anniversary, birthday? Obviously, if you're calling 6 or 10 a day, prior to a holiday, you might get not actually reach there unless you started a month in advance
Yeah.
of that.
It just kind of depends. Yes, I recognize 1, 2, 3-year anniversaries of purchasing and selling a home. I recognize birthdays, anniversaries if I know them. But again, think about who's in my database. It's a pretty intimate, if you will,
Mhm.
database. So I kind of have notes rem- that jog my memory. Oh, this person, we talked about this last time. Let's bring that up. Or
So I can hear someone saying right now, "Oh, I don't have any. I don't have the personal contacts that Lisa has."
yeah,
But really, well, I mean, obviously, you're not 25 years old. You taught for 25 years. So you would expect to know some people and some families one way, shape, or form or another. Maybe you run into them again on Facebook or run into them in the grocery store, say, I haven't seen you in 20 years or whatever, that type of thing. What if you were giving advice again to that 25-year-old agent just getting started about the CRM? What would you tell them?
be genuine. I've been here since 1988 and I do know a lot of people. One of my challenges in becoming a realtor was losing that persona of Is this a midlife crisis for her? Is she just going to do real estate for a
Right.
little bit? So not everybody that I know uses me for real estate. We all know
Mhm.
plenty of realtors, but it's being genuine in the relationships that you currently have and earning their business, earning their trust. Because when they trust you, they will trust you with their financial training.
So let's go back here because I think this is really, again, just tailoring on the subject. What you said you concentrated early on changing everyone's picture of you as Lisa the teacher to now Lisa the real estate agent. Tell us some of the different things that you did to kind
Make
of
that
get that ball
change.
roll going. Yeah.
It was tough because I knew Lisa as Lisa the teacher,
Mhm.
but this industry is a little bit different. I came in thinking everybody was going to be nice like people are to teachers.
Not really.
And that's okay.
I don't know how you did it for 25 years. The abuse that some of these teachers take in some of the areas worse than others, but man,
Yeah.
yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I was elementary, right?
Mm,
I've done every grade 1 through 5. So it was pretty easy. But
mhm.
part of the reason I got out. Anyway,
Yeah.
so really just staying present. I'm a lot older than a lot of agents out there, and I hear video and social media and all of the tricks of the trade.
Mm,
And 100% I agree. So I had to adjust myself. I had to put myself out there via social media, whether I was comfortable with it, comfortable, do it. I live in my non-comfort zone.
yeah.
There is nothing in this industry that makes me comfortable, but I am fearless and I will do it and try
I
it.
wouldn't say nothing. No, you feel you when they're signing the paperwork at the closing table?
Okay,
At
maybe
that point, are
that.
you
Yeah.
breathing now? Are you
I,
breathing at that point?
no, you know what I think? Maybe that's not the right way to say it.
Mhm,
I do live outside my comfort zone.
mhm,
And you mentioned something earlier about being out of the box. My husband will always tell you, I'm always out of the box. I dance on top of it.
mhm.
But I don't think that if you're comfortable with what you're doing, you're not learning and growing. You're definitely not growing and changing and
Right,
evolving. So, am I comfortable in what I do? I'm confident in what I do. Yes.
right.
But I stay uncomfortable. I do the things I don't want to do sometimes.
Well, I've heard so much recently, and at least as I've paid attention to it recently anyway, in just thinking of some different people are flashing through my mind, but basically what they're saying is, if you're feeling you're feeling that uncomfortableness, whatever, however it feels, it really means you're headed in the right direction.
Yeah.
You need to just keep pressing against that. It's kind of like, working out and pain, pain is weakness leaving the body, right?
That's what they say.
That's what they say anyway. But, if you're feeling a little uncomfortable, you're going to do a buyer's or seller's presentation or something, or whatever it may be that you're doing, or getting up in front of a group and speaking, you obviously being in the classroom, that was natural for you to do. But I'm sure the first week you had those kids, it was a little, but obviously then you saw them every day and it got a little easier.
Yeah.
You're meeting new people all the time. You're sitting down. Some of them have been referred and they're total strangers to you.
Yep.
It's been referred by somebody that knows you. So you have, a little bit of an angle, but there's always that, all of us have, as any professional athlete has, they typically will have some of those butterflies, before, but
Absolutely.
you guys keep pressing through. It means you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
I agree. You just have to push on.
Mhm. So again, go back to changing from teacher Lisa to real estate agent.
Yep.
So you've got your, I imagine at one point you sat down and said, who do I know?
Yep.
Right. And made a list of some sort. How did you attack that list?
Made phone calls, texts, let them know what I had done. A letter saying, hey, I have changed jobs. I'm new career, going a different path. Love for you to, tune in and learn about my journey.
Mhm. Now, how often, because like I said, everyone doesn't read their email, maybe read that one, or they heard it once, didn't really set on, or like, they're like, oh, okay, well, I just saw her last month at the school.
Right.
How, that again, that new agent, how consistent, how regularly were you, touching them? And I imagine you probably changed up how you touched them, whether it was a text 1 month or this, what was kind of your game plan with that list as far as consistently sending something to them?
Yeah. Looking back, probably not as consistent as I would have liked. I think I learned early on who was going to be with me and who wasn't. So some
Mhm.
people just naturally fell by the wayside. My most consistent avenue then was social. will be the first to tell you I don't like to talk on the phone, and my family laughs at that. But I am not a phone person. Absolutely have to do it, but now I do when I absolutely have to.
Right. Right.
So more so often text messages, but social media was huge for me. I made it look like I had the business. I made it look like I was doing things, took videos of other people with me going to open houses. My first year sold 4 homes from open houses. Every
That you were
weekend.
sitting for other people. Mhm.
And I know what I have a supportive husband who's amazing. He would go with me so that I wasn't there alone. My signs, he's my sign man. But I did the things people didn't want to do, and I put it out on social media.
Well, it's interesting you say that. Like, I would think if I'm becoming a real estate agent and I have no business at this point, it's not like you got your license and the next day your mom wanted to sell her home or something.
It's funny you should say that. The first house I sold,
Was your mom?
my own.
Your own, yeah. You're not the first person to say that. So, but to go out and sit open houses, you're saying that, and now I'm thinking of the Ferreira team. They were explaining
Great
that.
team, by the way.
Huh?
Great team.
Yes. And those two, they sit, that right away, they were out sitting open houses. I mean, that's what they understood, that the weekends, that's what you did.
That's what you did.
You could start taking a weekend off a month if you've got business, but if you're getting your business started, plan for the first 6 or 12 months to be every Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
I've had numerous people, you tell your family that there's no weekends.
There's no weekends. There was no vacation in the beginning.
Yeah. You're trying to get, so, but there are a lot of new agents that'll come in and say, oh, I don't work on the weekends, or I don't work on Sunday. Unfortunately, half your open houses are on Sunday.
That is correct.
And Sunday actually is a fairly busy day, especially right now. If you got offers coming in on a house over the weekend, sometimes the seller's ready to make that decision that night.
Yes.
They're not waiting for Monday morning. They're already closing out Sunday night and be done with it, type of thing. And working through that. So we've gone on, and I say gone off on a tangent. We just dug into a lot of things that I wanted to talk about anyway. So I'm going to bring it back around.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, well, actually, I never asked, this is a question I generally ask early on. At what point, I assume before you actually walked out of the classroom, that you actually said real estate's my direction, where I'm going? When did you start getting the taste for real estate?
So I grew up with a mom who was a realtor, a very successful realtor, for a few years. And I actually always said I'll never do that because she was never home at that time in her life. And when I left teaching, I saw an ad for a Watson real estate instructor. And I thought, I can do that because, I'm a teacher.
Right.
But I can't teach what I don't know, so I'll go get my license. And it was quickly after that I, taking the test and learning about
So you walked out of the classroom before you even...
I did.
You did? Okay.
I did. I'm a little bit bold.
Yeah.
I did.
You jumped and learned how to fly on the way down.
Yes. So then it became a challenge, right? Sink or swim, Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I just thought, over the years since I've been married, tomorrow's my 31st anniversary.
Excellent.
We have bought and sold, I think we've moved 14 times in 31 years. And it's just a love. I have a love for new, different change, and I love the process.
Right.
We've been burned a couple times by realtors. And so I've learned how not to do it. And it became important to me to do it the right way.
Right. So you see that ad.
Funny as
You're
that.
like, I got to get licensed. So I imagine you signed up for the Watson school.
I did not. Nope. I did it from home.
You did it from home.
CE shop.
Okay. So the subject we're going to get into a little bit and talk about it, because obviously you've had the taste of 3 different brokerages in your time.
Yeah.
What was the decision on the first one? Why did you go with the first brokerage originally? What was your reasoning?
I don't know. Recruited isn't the word, but I got a letter in the mail saying I could make over $100,000 a year. And you know what? As a teacher of 20 years who was making less than half of that, I thought, oh, this is going to be awesome.
Yeah. So good advertising.
Yes.
Got you in.
Yes.
Okay. But again, you don't know what you don't know, right? You didn't know what you needed to know. You're just like, well, but like anything, I'll learn how to do it. But now you're not getting that paycheck every 2 weeks or whatever, you were getting. You're not, there's no benefits there other than what you save for yourself. when does the realization of that kind of set in as you're, starting with this new brokerage that, hey, I need, what do I do first?
Yeah, it was great. They had some training, but it was very, very small brokerage.
Mhm.
So I think you said 3. I might have been at 4.
Okay.
And then it
I was
was,
like, I'm going off your LinkedIn. I can't remember what you had on there.
yeah. I'm not going to mention your name.
Okay.
So it was very quick that I realized, again, as an educator, okay, I'm going to need more than this.
hmm
So I went over to Keller Williams, actually. They have phenomenal training. I will always say that.
Yeah.
And that is kind of what jump started me in knowing what I needed to know. Know the contract in and out. They offered training. Made it a point to be there almost every day.
Yeah.
Just soaked in what I could soak in.
Julia Olmstead said this to me, and I know you know Julia, and that a lot of people will go in, and this is not just Keller Williams. Keller Williams creates that atmosphere, and and tells you, hey, you got to come in the office, get your desk space. They got training room. They got top people are constantly, education's being offered. I'm sure even virtually, but live a lot. And that there's some people get caught in this learning circle.
Yeah.
And it comes a point where you need to actually say, I need to actually go out and
get the ball rolling.
Yeah. Because there's really no end to learning. How would, if you had someone that wanted to team up with you, or, your daughter, and you got her right here, and you're teaching her the ropes of real estate, how would you explain to them what to expect that first 6 months, like you were there, but the way based on the knowledge you have now?
I think I would go about it the same way, right? Knowledge is power.
Mhm.
I had to know the basics. That contract always was a little bit intimidating to me, so I needed to be comfortable in that alone. Pretty much I'm a people person. So talking to people face to face was something that was easy for me.
Mhm.
But what would I say? I would say, you know what? There are people who are talkers and there are people that are doers. And you have to be a doer. Just have to tackle it and do it.
Right.
Again, that's my learning style. If I'm going to learn it, I have to do it.
Right.
So.
Hey folks, this episode was produced by Streamline Media, the #1 media company for helping brands generate content that converts. I knew I wanted to start a podcast to reach more people and bring value to the world, but I did not have the time or the knowledge. Streamline Media became my secret weapon to building my show. They handle all my back-end work, production, and strategies to keep my show going strong. If you're in the real estate business and looking to make content that generates more leads and brings in more revenue, check out the Streamline Media link in the show notes and discover how partnering up can supercharge your path to real estate excellence. When do you, has there ever come a point where you're like, I would call it a tipping point of education, where all of a sudden you just felt, the transition from one client into the next client? It's like, hold on a second, I got a little more power, a little more confidence, confidence, power, did you feel that you tipped, that you're actually like, I know, and you in your mind, you knew that you knew more than anyone than you would typically run into in any course of the day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's those top agents, those handful of people in the office who have been doing it longer. They're already steps ahead of you because they're years ahead of you because of experience. But at some point you come to the realization, okay, the common people out here have no idea what I know. Yeah. And you gain that, and all of a sudden you get this power, and all of a sudden that just flows into the people that you're working with.
Yes. So I do know when that transition was. And I will say it was very fascinating to me. There are a lot of people that don't know a lot about real estate. I think that was so foreign to me because we had bought and sold so many houses.
Mm-hmm.
But that transition happened for me when I knew that I knew how I wanted to run my business, when I had set goals for myself and I started achieving. When I started saying, okay, and it just happened at my last brokerage. I mean, this has been a journey for me. But it solidified who I was in this business, and I became the most comfortable with myself.
You said when you realized how you wanted to run your business, what brought you to that point? Was it the number of trainings and event, the talking about it, that all of a sudden it just clicked with you? Like, How did that evolve?
So I knew when I came into the business, I didn't want to be one of the people that took the leads. It freaked me out a little bit, right?
Mhm.
I mean, a woman, I don't want to just meet anybody randomly on the street, go to an open house, etc. I really wanted to do this business and help my friends, family, their friends and family. So in my gut, I knew that. I'm a follower of my gut. I didn't know how to get there.
Yes.
So when I made the connection of how to get there, and I knew this is what I've been looking for, that's off for me.
Was it Buffini or before you started?
It was when I
What are
sat,
some of the tips that you got all of a sudden started to make that bridge?
yeah. So when I sat down with my current brokerage and I met the broker and the owner, and I asked to speak with some of the high,
Producers?
thank you,
Mhm.
at at the brokerage. They gave me their contacts and I talked with them and I was like, yes. So maybe this is the path that's going to get me where I need to. And it was. It was.
Because where you're at now with majority of your business is basically coming through referrals and past customers, it doesn't have to be that far away. Would you think that the average person goes, oh, well, yeah, she's been doing this 10, 15 years. That's why she lives off referrals. So I'm 15 years away from that. When really it's with a proper coaching, proper business plan,
Yeah.
got just all of a sudden accelerated you to where you want to be. You could have
Correct.
done it a year earlier if you had the knowledge. Yeah.
Right. And the confidence, I guess, or it's meeting the right people, which is why networking is important in this business.
Mhm.
I don't go to anymore all of the happy hours or the morning breakfasts, but I do stay in contact and I am open to if somebody says, hey, you need to meet this person, I'll meet that person. We have to help each other out in the industry. And the more people that you meet, one, the more you're going to learn. Two, the more connections you're going to make with who does business your way. So let's work together.
I use the analogy, you got to turn over the rocks to find out what's
You're
underneath.
absolutely right. You're
You
absolutely right.
if you had a scratch off card and just said, keep scratching until you find the $1 million hit, you just keep scratching. Turn over as many as you can.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think just a lot of people, just from their I don't want to say personalities, their mindset. I hear some things on the motivational thing is they say stay away from the 97%, roll with the 3%, which is what you're sort of, saying, hanging out with these top producers, because that mindset of, hey, I'll go out and meet someone. And I think real estate agents are devalued, and from two different standpoints. The clients say, oh, they're out, they're out doing a social, they're at this, they're at,
Yeah.
that thing,
They're just having fun.
or, you're going out to, dinner with people, but really you are going out, the win-win situation of doing that. You can go out with people you actually like to go out to dinner with and have conversation with or
Absolutely.
whatever, but also you're in front of them.
Yes.
And you're reminding them as an agent. And there's nothing wrong with that. People have this thing, oh, I can't sell to my friends or family. You're not selling them. They're calling you for a service that they would pay the same amount to anyone else, but they'd rather give it to you. And if you're actually really good at it, that's even better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So get good at it.
Yes. Get good. Get good at it. Where I was going with that, I think that was the thought. That's the thought there. Mentors and coaches. You mentioned Buffini. Has there been some brokers or top agents that you have tried to mimic? And I go back to, again, going back to Haley Davis mentioning, she said, don't try to recreate the wheel. The others are doing it. Find someone who's running their business like you want to run yours and learn from them. Is that what you found when you started making some of those phone calls about how they were doing their business? As things started to, what you were thinking is what they were telling you, and you're like, yeah, I want to be like you. I want to run that way.
Yes.
And then where did you take that when you started to connect, that you knew that they kind of had the same mindset?
So I jumped in and went into as many trainings with them, them meaning the people at my brokerage, that Buffini system, and sat in those trainings and listened. I started going to masterclass. This year I'm going to P. I'm surrounding myself with people that do business like I do business. I can continue to learn from them. Yes, so that I can gain referrals from them. But it is motivating to see success for me. It's motivating. It's a hard industry. I can't tell you how many times I've been like, quit.
Right. Right.
So seeing people like that 10, 20, 30 years in the business motivates me to be like, you can do this. This is just a couple bad deals or
Right. Some
whatever.
of them
Just
have
keep
just given me
going.
a slice of what they do, right? Some of these people are
Yes.
amazing.
Yeah.
Talk about going to events. I think this is an area that I think agents need to do, but in any of the big developments or any, these guys will tell you, you have to spend a portion of your income, a portion of your revenue on, personal development or, going to an event like this. And sometimes because you're reading and you're listening to their podcast or whatever it may be, when you actually go to the meeting, you're kind of hearing some of the same stuff over again type of thing. But how important is sometimes you have to hear it a lot of times.
Repetition is key, right?
Right. It's like,
Yeah.
this guy keeps telling me this, keeps telling me this. Like, but
Must
I
be.
haven't done it yet, but how do you feel like, I mean, do you feel a little energy spike, a little burst when you come back from one of these events?
Yes. Yeah. I think anytime people that are gathered together in an event like that synergize from each other, they get the energy from each other. They realize what they're doing is working. They, yeah, I mean, it's like a caffeine shot or,
Mhm.
I drink just black coffee. So,
Little espresso
yes.
shot.
But yeah, it is. And when you start talking to them and seeing what they're doing and realizing they're facing some of the same struggles you do, you're in
Don't
together.
recreate the wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just, hey, this is how I solved the problem. Sometimes we feel like we're an island and we're not. There's people out there who have been there, they've done that, and they're willing to help you. Can't be afraid to ask.
I want us to go back because I think what brings us all around for you is you learning about yourself. This is the way you want to run your business. And then you were able to find somebody who's running the business as you or envisioning yourself running the business, that you can't go, well, that person's a really top producer. And you're looking at what they're doing and go, well, I guess I could do what they're doing. Who knows? They're knocking on doors, whatever. But knocking on doors, and this is really an analogy more than a factual thing. Knocking on doors in August in St. Augustine, you're going to want to quit. Yeah.
And you're even going to want to quit more if it's not your personality and not the right thing for you to do.
Right. What are some of the things that you did to bring out or come to that realization? I mean, was it meditation or going to an event where finally it clicked with you? Like, I need to find out what I like to do,
Yeah.
And how I want to run my business. What triggered that thought, and what did you do to really dig down and because I imagine a lot of these people said you really got to get really narrow on how you want to run your business. Yep. So that you can match with someone else.
So a couple of things. I have a very strong faith in God. I meditate every morning. I go for a walk most mornings. But really, my relationship with God and my conversations with Him every morning led me to where I need to be or who I am, right? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I put Him first. I talk to Him. I think that's crazy sometimes, but that's how I get through this crazy world.
Right.
And He's first in my finances, in my relationships, in my business. Am I absolutely perfect? Heck, probably.
You're taking it, and I go back to Billy Wagner with Brightway Insurance, had him on the show months ago. But one of the things he does, he goes out and does his walk the dog for an hour in the morning. 30 minutes of it, he is likely listening to a podcast or something of that. So some education. But then he says he goes silent for 30 minutes. Absolutely. And allows, in your case, you're talking to him and, through your mind, and he's putting these thoughts in there or making these thoughts rise to the surface within your mind, your things. And really everyone needs to take that time every day, 15, 30 minutes, shut everything off around them and really just, listen to the wind go by, because it will allow your mind to, I like to use it allows your mind to catch up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When I first started, I think I was more focused on opening up social media and starting my day that way. It wasn't necessarily working. Saying it's a bad, it doesn't work for me. I have to fill my mind with good things. Another slogan I use often, always have when I was raising my kids: garbage in, garbage out. If you're putting garbage in, you're going to give garbage out. That's not what I want to give my customers.
Right.
I want to give them the best of me. So I fill my head and my spirit with, for me, it's the
Positive.
Word of God.
Yeah. It's positive energy, positive thoughts.
Yep.
But the meditation, I think, allowed you to really dwell on that thing, how you wanted to run your business. I'm sure you heard things before that were saying, learn how to run it. How do you want to run your business? How do you run your business? And you're like, what are you talking about? How do I want to run them? I'm looking at all these other people. I want to do it like they do. But no, you have to run your business.
Again, it's finding who you are and
Yeah.
what's important to you. Yeah, I think for me, and I think also Tracy, because I'm older than most of the agents out there, I have to have that silence. I have to have that peace in that call so that I can go out there and be the energetic Lisa, the personable Lisa. That's what it takes for me. I think we all need to just take a breath and slow down.
Yeah. Yeah. I always say, let the brain catch up, but it processes, it starts to file away these thoughts and experiences. And then eventually, like I said, your meditation or through your praying, all of a sudden, boom.
Yeah. There's an
pops
idea
in front
where,
of you.
oh, why didn't I think of that before?
I mean, how many, they tell us if you're laying there in bed at night, you're trying to fall asleep and all of a sudden a thought comes in your mind, you better write it down.
And I know because nothing's going to get
you're like, well, hold on a second. I got to write that down. I forget where I heard that one. It might have been John Maxwell.
I'd be a millionaire if I did that.
Yes. The brilliant thoughts our brain pulls up. So, I mean, we kind of talked a little bit about these things, but I want to really just be straight, boom, boom, here's the answer type thing, because we'll create some good reels out of here for people to watch and listen from. Knowing from what you know now, what are 3 things you would tell someone entering the business today? Like, hey, these are 3 things you must do. I would do this on day 1. What are 3 things that you think are crucial?
Day 1, get training. Get with somebody that you're comfortable with, get training. 2, know the business, know what you want. And okay, can I do 4?
Yeah, go for it.
3, get a mentor, get a coach. 4, get out there and do it. Don't just talk about it, go do it.
You like any of the greats are going to tell you fail forward.
Gosh.
So go out and do an open house and say stupid things because
and be
it's the only way you're going to get better. You are going to be the biggest critic of yourself.
Absolutely.
And, I go back and everyone knows the YouTube guy, and he just said, hey, go out and shoot 100 videos.
Yes, I just heard that this morning.
Commit to 100 videos. Yes. And by the time you're over, I listen to every one of my podcasts. I look at the different reels and I'm constantly tweaking. And this is 140th episode. And I'll be continually tweaking it, how I want to do the cameras and so forth. I know how I sounded at the beginning. Yeah. I still do it because I do have an open conversation versus like some sort of scripted conversation, and you trigger a thought. And then I have to actually how I want to verbalize that question back to you or whatever it may be. And I hear myself sort of stuttering. I know what I'm doing, but someone listening doesn't even know me. They're like, what's wrong with this dude? I know because my brain's processing how I want to ask the question. And I always like to ask deep questions. Listen, you mentioned find a mentor.
Yes.
Would you think we need to fine tune that just a little bit? You want to find somebody, and how you want to do your business may evolve as you learn more about the business.
Of course, yeah.
But finding someone who's running the business, not just successful, not just say they're the top producer in the office and I better be a mentor of them, because they may be doing something you totally don't like doing, and they like doing it and they're good at it. Find someone who actually, again, going back to that business, how you want to run your business, find someone who you think is running their business the way you want to run your business.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is going to evolve over time. When somebody told me find a mentor, I was like, I don't even know what does that look like?
Yeah.
When I was teaching, I was the mentor. So
right.
What do I do now? But again, going out there and meeting a lot of people and talking to them, I think you find who that mentor is.
Yes.
Or they lead you to that mentor.
Right. Well, you start conversing, you're like, oh, we're like-minded.
Yes.
We think alike. We like doing stuff, but obviously this person's a few years ahead of me. They're that I would like to be where they're at in whatever amount of years, right? Whatever it is. Yes. But the only way to do that is you're out there talking and exchanging ideas.
And thoughts and real conversations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What do you think are 2 or 3 characteristics of a real estate agent? What are some characteristical traits that you think the top agents have?
They're bold, right? They're bold.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first word that comes to mind.
Bold give me You know, you can give probably a lot of examples. Kind of give us some color
Yeah.
to that. What's the?
They're not afraid to try new things and adjust. They will do the hard things other people won't do. If you're going to be a top producer, you're going to do things that are hard and that most people will say, no, I'm not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
That's not an option. Do it anyway, is
Right.
my motto. Just get out there and do it. Be genuine. You know, you have to have, it's not about the dollars or the transaction. It's about the person making the transaction.
The person in front of you at the moment.
Correct. And every transaction will be different. So
Right.
know what that person needs. And I'll stick to this. You have to be a good listener. Most of us want to talk more than we listen, and that doesn't work real well.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can listen and learn what that person wants and needs, you're going to meet them where they're at. You're going to make that transaction work well for them, smoothly for them, and then they're going to be happy.
In learning their needs, what is your practice right now? Someone you know, past client, whatever, refers you to someone you don't know. You're having a call with them, buyer or seller. What is something that you are doing regularly now in really setting the atmosphere to be able to divulge from them, what really are their wants and needs?
Yeah. I ask a lot of questions. And I start out by saying, your business is important to me
Mm-hmm.
and you're important to me and I want to earn your trust. So how can I do that for you first? How can I serve you with excellent customer service? And then tell me about your needs. What is it you'd like to get from this transaction? Because I want to get you there.
Now, I imagine a lot of people don't know how to answer that. If
They
you're
don't.
asking it that way, they don't know really, because they only, if they're a first time home buyer, they wouldn't know.
Right.
They've only sold one or two homes, they wouldn't even know, really.
So if that's the case, then I have a buyer's consultation that I
Mm-hmm.
walk them through, and I kind of summarize the steps for them and say, hey, this is what it takes in a real estate transaction. I'm here for you. My transaction coordinator, Stacy's here for you. And our job is to walk through these steps. Okay. You're never on your own. If you have a question, there's no question. It's dumb.
Uh-huh.
Please ask it.
I like the way you brought up the transaction coordinator, because, again, talking to other people in the industry, especially the loan world, your top loan officers typically have an assistant. Hopefully that assistant's well known by the agents that you're working with, that this is, your right-hand person.
Yep.
And you're already setting the expectation that, hey, this transaction person, they are someone in this transaction.
Yes.
They're actually better at what they're doing than I am. I'm good at having the buyer consultation, find you a home, or actually, how we're going to market your home and so forth. They're going to handle a lot of the cleanup work and a lot of the
Yes.
dot the I's, cross the T's type of thing.
That's
How important is setting expectations in that initial
it's huge.
talk with either buyer or seller?
It's huge. It's your lesson. It's telling people this is how it's going to roll out. I need to know what I need to know about you and how you'd like it done. This is how the process is going to roll out. You've got two of us here. We're on the same team, and this is the initial part of the team. If you're a buyer, in a bit, I'm going to introduce you to somebody else who's part of the team, right? That's the lender. And then we're going to meet the title company. Before that, I've got these people that will do your inspections, and your appraisal will come from your lender. I mean, it is setting
Right.
expectations. This is how a smooth transaction goes. Let's get us there.
Right. Painting that path. So when you are saying, hey, they need your deposit for the appraisal. Oh yeah, you already told me that's coming.
Right.
That sort of, when you were talking about that, and the movie Air came out, I don't know, last week or two, with Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. And I always want to mention Jason Bateman because I love him as an actor.
know, right?
I love it. He's so funny.
He can do anything.
Yeah. The movie's not about Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan he's in the background, so to speak. The house is in the background of our, talking to a buyer or seller.
Yeah.
The house is ultimately what we want to do. But really the conversation, and now when you were just explaining what you're talking about, the process, and you're talking about them and building a relationship and getting to know what they want and so forth, it just really reminds me that those of you, when you see the movie, which you should see it because it is actually really good, when Matt Damon goes to Michael Jordan's house, does he meet Michael Jordan? No. He gets to Mama. Mama's running the show, and he's talking to Mama, and he's telling him, this is what's going to happen. Now, in his case, he was telling him what was going to happen at Adidas, what was going to happen at Converse, which the funny thing is, it's exactly what he says. And you could see the look on her face going, he told me they would actually say this almost verbatim, right?
Yeah.
So he painted that picture of them and then spun it obviously with, this is what I'm going to, I'm going to give you. And he obviously puts his heart out there on the table, which is the whole purpose of the movie. But watch the movie and think about what we're just talking about, setting those expectations, what's going to happen, or, hey, I'm a little different than most agents. This is the way it's going, because would you bet 90 something % of them, of the agents, are not actually sitting down, or even if it is a phone call and saying, hey guys, all right, here's where we're at. And this is what we need to, and actually talking them through the next steps so that they know what's coming next. And then they're like, oh yeah, that's what you told me was coming next. Okay. Boom. You can keep moving through the process. Most are not even doing that.
I don't know. That saddens me because, I think probably that comes from not wanting to do it.
Mm-hmm.
We're not really always taught to be good communicators. So it's a skill that has to be learned. So
Yes.
not only do you have to learn the real estate industry, you have to learn to be a good communicator. But yeah. And when I set those expectations, just to take a step back, I set them with my voice, right? We have a conversation. I give it to them in writing. And then along the way, they hear it again. We're at this step. Okay.
Yeah.
We're at this step.
Yeah. You got to keep reminding them of what's going on. But you've learned that through some trial and error. I imagine you weren't as thorough at the beginning and you are now. Now you're realizing by taking that little bit of time and setting these kind of templates up, that your customer satisfaction rating is going up because you're telling them numerous times, you're reminding them numerous times. Because most people, you could tell them 10 steps, but they're really, really only going to remember the next one. Just what do I got to do next in this transaction?
And don't we wish people in every industry would do that, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah. But you have to go watch that movie, because you just really brought it around for me of why that movie is a really good lesson, I think, in consistency, passion, being thorough. And obviously, as many agents I've had on, some of them actually said it directly, you're leading with the heart, that you actually do care. Absolutely. And you're telling them, hey, these are the pitfalls that could come. Make sure you do this because you care. You don't want them to fall in those pit holes. You don't wait for them to happen and then react. You already are foreshadowing things. The move to Better Homes and Gardens, things really start to change for you there. You mentioned you spoke with the brokerages, you made some of these phone calls to some of their top people. And so now you've been at there 2 years. So that got you to the first day. You were positive there. What are some of the value adds that you feel Better Homes and Gardens adds to the way you're doing your business?
Huge support system for the Buffini method. So that's huge for me.
You enjoy Buffini. Is the broker or all Better Homes into Buffini as well?
There's a group of us.
There's a group
of agents.
Okay.
Yes. And I don't know. I think just, real estate's competitive. Again, I mentioned how many agents are in our brokerage, right?
Or Northeast Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're competitive by nature, I think, as humans. But in this brokerage, we're not competitive with each other. We have our own market share and we help each other. So it's easy for me to shoot out a text or put in our Facebook group, hey, what about this? Or do you know somebody that does this? Or this just happened. What do I do? And there's a quick response and there's a genuine response. I think we just look out for each other, I guess. We're there for each other. Doesn't mean that we're all friends and we all go to dinner but we all share professionalism that is important to us.
So again, go back to one of the original things you said, surround yourself. So now you have this peer group. You guys a lot of think alike. You probably poke holes. You got a difficult contract, or, maybe it's how to structure an offer, whatever it may be, business related. You've got this collaborative group around you.
So for example, I do 3 VIP client events a year, and several of the agents in the office do that as well. The last one was at Valley Smoke. We did luncheon. One person brought up, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. I'm going to put it out there for my VIP clients. I'm going to serve lunch at Valley Smoke. Anybody want to go in and, we'll team up and do it as a big group.
Yeah.
5 of us went in. We had a great lunch with like 400 people at Valley. That's probably too much. I think it was like people at Valley Smoke. We had a caricature. We had some live music and a great lunch.
Nice.
But one person put it out there and, asked anybody else.
I think and I see it a lot in my side too. People get a little protective. To me, I want that person that I invited. They know who invited them.
Yes.
That they went there and maybe they met 3 other people that used another total agent. It doesn't mean they're leaving you. They know who invited them there. But the energy, how when they leave there, they're like, oh my God, that was so awesome. I got to meet these great people. Or maybe you saw an old friend you haven't seen in a while that's in someone else's circle. And they just had a good time.
Yeah.
And they'll remember that.
And that's what it was about. You support and help me. Let me do something nice.
Mhm.
Let me give you a good lunch in a venue that is on the water.
I was at the Jacksonville producers event last Tuesday, and I was introducing a friend of mine that he's doing Matt's a videographer. And I said, Matt, let me go introduce you to some people that I've obviously, they're having a podcast and whatever. And I'm going over and he goes, well, let me take a picture of you. I said, yeah, that's fine. Take a picture of us talking, but I want you to meet them. They know who I am. They know what I do. So I don't, but the power of the influence is me introducing them to you, to influence them and say, here is Matt. He's a great videographer. If you need any work done, he does some other stuff. You should see his website because his past experience in working in movies and stuff like that. Oh my God, it's just awesome. Right. And you probably, I don't know if you ever picked up on it because we've been to networking events before, but that's one of the things I pick up from John Maxwell. One of the greatest way to influence people is by introducing them to other people.
That's how this business is done.
Yes. Yes.
You don't know who you don't know.
Right. And you never know. I'm trying to think. Someone was telling me a story. I don't want to repeat, but basically the gist of the story was you go to an event like that, you run into someone new, and all of a sudden it's like, oh man, I really thank you for introducing me to that person because I needed that. Whatever it is, you made a connection and they're not going to forget that you introduced them to someone they didn't know. And now things take different paths.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Mark, we talked a little bit about marketing. You brought up the CRM. And then you're doing it social media wise. What is your mindset and ideology as far as marketing on social media? Other than obviously you need to do it. Yeah.
So yes, you need to do it. Again, I know I've said this 3 times since we've been chatting. I'm a little bit older than most of the agents. So it doesn't come naturally to me. I'm not the one that's going to put myself in front of
I really don't think it comes naturally to anyone, actually.
I'm not the one that's going to put myself in front of a camera and be like, hey, I am third of 3 girls and the world is not about me, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm happy to post where I am. I'm into reels. I will do what it takes that way. Mm-hmm. The one thing you probably won't see much of in social media is pictures of me. Yeah. My strength, I think, is kind of combining my work life, my home life. I share a little bit about my home life. By nature, I'm kind of a private person, so I don't put a whole bunch out there. But it's important people see the real Lisa because that's who they're doing business with.
Right.
What you see is what you get.
Right. Which is, I mean, the baseline game plan is a little bit of, hey, I'm showing this house. I got an open house this weekend, whatever it may be. Or, here's just, hey, one of my teammates. The other part is showing, a few reels of yourself personally, out with the family, whatever it may be. Yeah. You brought this up earlier. Have you ever felt discouraged and wanted to quit? I had that down on my list.
Every other day. You don't. Yes, absolutely. Because it's hard, Tracy. I think sometimes and oftentimes top producers or people like me, because I still don't often consider myself a top producer, you don't see the hard things. You see what we're posting on social media, but we got there because we failed. We got there because we had a lot of bad days and a lot of hard transactions, and we learned.
A young agent called you today, a year or 2 in the business, is like, Lisa, I don't know what would you say to that person?
I've been there, done it. It's the nature of the beast. Stay strong. Don't take it personally.
Yeah.
Just take a deep breath. You're going to have a better day tomorrow. Hang in there.
And right now, would you agree in this business, there are enough people that are falling out? It's on the loan side, on the real estate side. You got to stick with it. We're in a pocket right here of high demand Even though the interest rates are high, you got a house that's priced correctly in decent shape, it's going to sell.
Yep.
We don't have enough homes for sale. Just keep trudging along. You still can make a decent living, selling 8, 9, 10 homes a year. You actually are making a really good living doing that. You want to make 6 figures, you got to start applying yourself. Yeah. Yeah. What is one thing that you've had roughly 4 brokers now. What is one thing that you found that I wrote successful brokers do, but what is how important is it to know the ideology, you don't know till the first day you show up to the office what the office is really like. How how what is it that some of the traits that you're seeing with some of the brokers that you've admired, that you've met, you're like, wow, that person, I'd like to follow them, or you're following one now. What are some of the things that they do?
So what's important to me in business and in life is if you say you're going to do something, do it. Brokers are in the business, and this is just Lisa's perspective, to recruit, to gain agents, and appreciate that. And they want the same thing we want. They want those agents that are a good fit, right? But what I have found successful for me to help me be successful is the brokerages that when you're sitting down and having conversations with them, they tell you this is how we run our business, this is what it's like, and you make that decision. You jump on board and you find out, you know what, that they're doing exactly what they say.
Right.
And that's hard. I mean, that's hard for anything in life. I'm not slighting brokerages. I'm not saying that the other ones I've been at have not done that. That's not the case at all. It's me not knowing the questions to ask sometimes those other brokerages because I was so,
Right.
it was beginning of my journey to get me where I am.
Well, I mean, it goes back, you have the visionaries and you have the integrators. Going back to Rocket Fuel. Thank you, Sarah Rocco, for giving me that book.
They're a great agent.
Yeah, they're a great agent. And a lot of them have visions of how they want to run their business, but they need the integrator to actually execute on running the business that way. Very few brokers actually can do both. You got to find out, hey, here's the visionary. Here's Mr. Tufts at Keller Williams or whatever. He has this visionary of how this is, or Keller Williams, this is how they're running they want to run their business, but they have to have the soldiers or the integrators that actually make it happen.
Yes.
To truly run, a large brokerage. And that's where you really got to analyze, the fancy software, the fancy programs is all great, but if no one's there actually how to teach you how to use that CRM, it's not worth anything.
And something else I've learned, which kind of has been helpful to me because of my own personality, is that I would think this is very hard for brokers. You have to have people that are motivated and can self-motivate themselves.
Yeah.
You've got to have a self-starter. And if you're somebody who has to be pushed along the way and told step by step what to do, this might not be the industry you're going to be in.
You're an employee.
Yeah.
Yeah. The self-starter, it was Lisa Sweat, who I was talking to last week.
Yeah, saw that
she
one.
used that. Yeah. She used the self-starter. That's exactly what it said. You got to be a self-starter. Yeah. You've got to, if you're not, the broker can provide the tools and stuff. You still have to execute. You still got to get out of bed every morning. You don't show up at 9 o'clock. The broker's not calling you going, hey, where you at? They assume you decide to go to the beach today if you wanted to. Is there anything I didn't cover that you want to?
I don't know. We covered a lot.
We did cover a lot. 2022, you platinum award.
So I sold just right at 12 million.
Right at 12 million. When we go back and we were talking about it a little bit before there, was the move to the better homes, was that when it started to click when you finally got there, or were you starting to ramp up before you went to better homes? When did it all of a sudden, click in for you? And, again, you probably haven't thought about quitting since.
That's not true. That's not true.
That's not true.
Nothing to do with better homes. It's just hard.
Yeah.
So yes, I think I was on an upswing when I went there. Just another funny quick story. When I went there, I had come out of ankle reconstruction surgery and a broken leg. I'd been on the couch for 6 weeks, had a lot of time to think. And I went and talked with them on crutches. And I told I'm not ready to make a move. Look, I've moved a lot. I'm not going to just jump and move. I'm
Mhm.
clearly not going to jump, right? But I just knew, for me, it felt like home. I
Yeah.
knew I was looking, I knew what I was looking for, didn't know where I would find it. And I just happened. But it was good.
But you did your due diligence, and that's what you've
Yeah.
learned over the
Yes.
time. You took the time, you spoke to them, you didn't make,
Multiple times.
you
Yeah.
didn't act, you called the other top people and started, they were talking music to you because were talking, they didn't know you. You were
Right.
just asking questions, but what they were saying was music to your ears. Yeah.
So I followed that up with actually having conversations with people that have been there a long time.
Yeah.
And when they were saying the same thing, on multiple accounts, I thought, okay.
Yeah. I mean, when you look back now, I mean, obviously the changing of the brokerages was different stages of your career.
Absolutely.
I don't think people should be, and you can comment on this. I don't think people should be afraid of changing brokerages because the brokerages change too. They may paint this pretty picture,
Yes.
but all of a sudden someone leaves.
Yes.
Someone in the leadership circle or someone that has that influence, they leave and someone else comes in and now they want to change things.
Absolutely.
Well, you were locked into that ideology and that's been good for you. This new ideology may not work for you. People grow. People may come into the business, become that broker in the first couple of years are like doing all the right things, but then they start to get a little fat and lazy and don't follow up on those things that you're talking about, or vice versa. They come in, they're trying to feel their, situation, feel the room out. And all of a sudden their second, third, fourth year of being a broker, they start to click and now they start getting better. So it might be time to go jump and grab onto their coattails, so to speak. But would you agree that the when you're clicking in that group, energy that comes through you, people I think neglect that.
Yes.
Like going to one of those events and hearing Buffini, you're like, oh, that's, it's all of a sudden you leave there with this boost of energy. But when you are in a room with others like-minded, you just feel good.
I do. I think that's where you thrive.
Mm-hmm.
What you were talking about is changing, right? The brokers, I call it shopping brokerages,
Mm-hmm.
not hopping.
Mm-hmm.
But it's true. Like any industry, anytime there's a shift in leadership, things change.
Yeah.
No new leader comes in and keeps things exactly the way it was, right? So I feel as though sometimes when you're changing brokerages, there might be a stigma to that, but I never really looked at it. As you grow, you change. And you need to be able to be or have the courage to make the change to get what you want and where you feel like you need to be.
Yeah.
And I don't think there should be a stigma. I don't think there should be any hard feelings. I just think it's business. This is a business decision.
Right.
New leadership, new change
Well,
again, you have to know yourself.
And there's some people that we know that are, we mentioned Sarah Rocco, but mentioned that there's some people that are running their own teams. I mean, they're with that brokerage, but they're on their own planet. They're on their own moon going around that thing. That with a brokerage changes, unless they did something like completely drastic, took the technology away or something like that. But those satellites are running on their own. A different type of agent does feel the synergy, or a smaller office, so to speak, where the broker is more in a not only the broker over the business owner type position, but they are in the hands to hands, training and teaching and, going over offers and so forth right with you as a senior agent would, because typically they're senior. So there's different situations. And obviously you got to find the important thing is, I think we come to find the one, and as you said it, that matches your business model that you want to run.
And as you grow as an agent, that may shift, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay.
It will shift. Yeah. We know it will. Well, it has to shift with the markets. Right. The markets change. So you have to change how you do business. I think in your core thing, working off family and friends, that's a core thing. I mean, that's going to work in every market, but you still got those other things like, how do I convince one of these friends and family, like, to actually make a move, right? Everyone's wondering, how can I get some of these, there was a panel, how can I get some of these buyers off the fence?
Yeah.
Right. So you got to change your game a little bit and work that piece. But Lisa, I appreciate you coming on. I think our listeners got a lot from it. I think your story is awesome. And this is,
thanks.
it wasn't just some flash you got it. And everyone's like, oh, she just must be really good. You worked through it.
Oh, I'm good.
Yeah, you're good. But I mean, you worked and you put the time in and the practice in, and the key component is you found out you learned about yourself, and then that allowed you to excel from there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Tracy. I
All right.
appreciate it.
All right.